Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. In today's video, I'm going to go through the price levels that I gave in the last few videos in terms of Bitcoin having to negotiate past these resistance levels. The first one was the 61.8 times by 3, which was at $64,000. The second level I gave you was the $65,000 level, where I said clearly at the beginning of the month that we will more than likely, with a very high degree of probability, reach the $65,000 level. So I'll have a look at where we are in relation to that. The third level I gave you was this 76.39 log growth curve level, which was at that time around $66,000. It's now come up to 67,800 level here, and I'll have a close look at that. And the final price level I gave you was based on this Bitcoin investor tool line, this red line here, and we were looking at exactly where this would be, because historically this has proved to be a very resistant point for the Bitcoin price. But once we break through this, it's only a matter of a few weeks before the market tops out. So this Bitcoin investor tool is going to play a crucial and very important role in the end of the bull market for Bitcoin. Currently, this price is at around $76,000 mark. And in our wisdom bite for today, I'm going to continue the theme of developing a successful mindset by looking at what the poor people do that the rich don't do. At the end of this, there'll be two types of people who are watching this video. Some will be hiding behind the sofa, not daring to look, but there will be the others who will be having a smug smile on the face. So which one will you be? And if that sounds interesting, then get your cups of teas, get your Snickers bars, get your popcorn, sit yourself down, eyes on the screen. Let's get cracking. Before we cover all that, I want to just clear up the pi cycle. Quite a few people have been asking me about the pi cycle, that we had the cross here on the 12th of April. And what does it signify? As we've mentioned many times in the past, this cross was very significant in terms of predicting the tops of the bull runs in the last two cycles. And in this cycle, it was coming up exactly to do that. However, as we said many times, that for this cross to be of significance and relevance, it has to have a confluence of factors. But those confluence of factors, as we saw in the last video, were not coming up to meet that. So therefore, as you can see, it was a bit of a damp squib here. As you can see, the market hasn't topped out, not yet anyway. I mean, there's obviously anything can happen in the next few days, but certainly it's not been a very big event, because quite clearly the other factors have not come to confirm this cycle top here. So this cycle top does not seem as though it's going to play out in this bull run. However, in the first cycle, when we had this first cross here, and there was a peak, we did get two peaks. And so while this crossed over here, that didn't signify the end of the bull market at that time. And what happened was that we came back on ourselves with a reverse cross here before the actual cross for the top of the bull cycle here. So we had one cross here, reversal cross here, and then back to the cross here for the top of the cycle. So it's worth bearing in mind that this cross could still have a bearing on the top of the current bull market. Only time will tell, but this is where we're at with the pi cycle. Coming back to the Bitcoin price levels that I gave you in the last video, the first price level I gave was the $64,000 mark here. And I said quite clearly in the last two videos that this is a price level that you have to consider, because there will be some resistance at the $64,000 mark. And if we just have a close look at this, look where it's come. The price level came right to the 64,800 level and got rejected straight away. The reason why I gave this $64,000 target level was because if you look historically at the price actions, you'll see that whenever we come to a Fibonacci retracement level, there is always some resistance there, as you can see, on virtually every single level. Here and now, here. How long it'll take will depend on obviously the momentum, but certainly it looks like we're going to be here for a little bit longer. I'm not expecting a major fall from here. As you can see, none of them have actually provided a major fall at these levels. So I'm expecting the price of Bitcoin to surge ahead past the 64,000. But there will be the next level where it may be held up. And that is where the pivots come in. At the beginning of the month, I said when the price was around here, that in the past 8 months, every single month, if we have a look, we've actually hit the R1 line, as you can see from here, there, etc. Since last September, we've hit the R1 line every single month. And I said that with a high degree of probability, the chances are we're going to hit the R1 line. And that is currently at $65,000. So I'm not expecting this resistance at $64,000, where the Fibonacci retracement 61.8 was, because I'm expecting this price to go and hit the R1 line very shortly within April, maybe in the next few days. The R1 line, as I mentioned last video, was that $65,000 mark here, there. Currently it's coming up to that line, but it hasn't actually got a touch on it yet. So it's flirting around with the R1 line, but it hasn't actually come towards it. Am I expecting the R1 to be hit this month? Yes, I am. The current resistance at the 64,000 Fibonacci 61.8 level, I think it's only temporary, maybe for a few days, maybe a week or so, and then we'll come to test the R1 line at least. Whether we go through, we do tend to hang around that line as well, as you can see from previous skirmishes with this line here. As you can see, it does tend to hang around a little bit, and there, etc. The question really is, what will it do once we pass the $65,000 level? This is where it gets really interesting. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The next level was on this yellow line of the log growth curve, as we've been looking at over the last few videos. And that resistance line was based on the historical price movements of Bitcoin when it was coming up to this line here. As you can see, when we came up to this line in the last bull market, we had a little bit of a resistance around here. And as this red line can testify, we will be hanging around this line for a little while. This is the daily chart, by the way. But the power of the momentum at that time pushed the price all the way through the yellow line, because we were coming to the top of the bull market at the time. So the question we have to ask is, are we coming to the top of the bull market? That's the $64 million question. But before this bull market, in the first cycle, if we look left, we came up to this 76.39 Fibonacci retracement level, the yellow line here. We came up to it and ended up with a 75% correction. So what will it do this time? Certainly there will be a little bit of a resistance, if not a big correction here. But previous to that, we came up to this yellow line again here. And again, you can see there was a correction there as well. So certainly it will have a relevance going forward, but to the extent of the correction, we don't know. Currently, the Fibonacci retracement yellow line here at the 76.39 is at $68,000. So at $68,000, this is where it's at. So that's going to be a major resistance, if not a place where Bitcoin could quite easily pull back, maybe 10, 15, 20%, who knows? But certainly it's a price level to keep your eye on. And the final level was the Bitcoin investor tool. As we know, this Bitcoin investor tool will play a major role in the relevance of Bitcoin getting towards this all-time high. As we know, in the past, this has proved to be very, very significant. And if we just have a look historically of the important role this plays, in the past cycle, as soon as we got our heads above this red line, it was a matter of just a few weeks before we topped out here. In the previous cycle, when we raised our heads above this red line, again, you can see the parabolic nature before we topped out at that top cycle as well. So this red line, the Bitcoin investor tool, will play a significant role in the development of the Bitcoin price towards its all-time highs, which we think is going to be around about the $200,000, $300,000 level. Currently, this Bitcoin investor tool line is at around about the $76,000, $77,000 mark. So this is where we're going to find major resistance, and I would be very surprised if we actually got through this. If we did get past this in a meaningful way, then it may well be that we are only a few weeks away from the top of the bull market, and that can be at any price. But certainly I'm not expecting it to happen. And if we do get past the other levels that I've mentioned today, then this will prove to be quite a heavy resistance for Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that it can't get through. The probability is that it will have a major crash from this level. The depth of the corrections we're never sure of, but this does prove a very good guide that we will more than likely have a big pullback around these levels, or whatever the price will be for the Bitcoin investor tool as it's moving forward and the price comes to meet it, wherever that's going to be. Currently, the Bitcoin price has just broken through from this neckline that we drew in the last few videos, where we said quite clearly that there is an inverse head and shoulders pattern developing, and that at this neckline, we're expecting the price to break out very, very shortly. And it obviously did that a few days ago. And the structure that is created is extremely powerful, because if you look at the previous all-time high here, look at the level it's come back to retest. So it's broken out of the neckline, come back and retested this all-time high here. So basically it's just a matter of time now before we start moving towards this blue line here of this channel that we've been developing, that I've been showing you. Currently, the top of that channel is around about the 68 mark if it was to come around here. And that would coincide very nicely with the log growth curve price levels that I've just shown you in the last few minutes. So let's wait and see what happens. But this is what all the action is all about. Always zoom out, have a look at exactly where the picture is going to be, and then you can make far better decisions. There are too many people looking at the short-term picture, not realizing that there are these resistant points, and I don't see many people talking about them. And yet people are wondering why we've actually had a correction at 64,000. And I've said in the last few videos, it was quite clear that with the Fibonacci retracement from the all-time previous high at 20,000 down to the previous low at 3,100, when you do the Fibonacci retracement there, that gives you the figure of 64,000. And we were already well prepared for that because I'd been showing you that in the last few videos. So we've now come to that level at 64. The next level is the 65,000 at the pivot level of the R1 line. But after that is where it gets interesting at the log growth curve and the Bitcoin investor tool lines, which are at 68,000 and 76,000, 77,000 respectively. I'll keep you updated in the next few videos exactly where we are. We don't need to do everyday videos to say the same things because we're looking at the bigger picture all the time. We're not looking at the short-term 5-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour price movements in Bitcoin because you don't get a very good insight into what's happening with Bitcoin. A quick look at Ethereum. Quite a lot of people wanting to know what's happening with that. In the last few videos, I drew this channel, which is the chart pattern that Ethereum has been following for the last few weeks. And I said clearly that once we break out of this neckline here, and which is the equivalent of this neckline there, then we'll be doing exactly this, going to a parabolic phase. And this is exactly what we've done now here. As you can see, we're making a very big move up here. And while Bitcoin is faltering around the $64,000 mark, Ethereum is setting its all-time highs at the $2,400 mark. My expectation is that in this channel that I've drawn here, the white lines, you can see that it's moving towards the top of this channel. The chances are when Bitcoin comes and has a correction, Ethereum will have met the top of this channel over here, which can be anywhere around the $3,500 mark. So keep a lookout on this particular channel here. And it could well be that we make a major correction around here before we start moving on to higher levels later on. So this is what we've got to consider in the next few weeks and months. We're going towards the top of this channel here, and we'll see how Ethereum behaves at that point. The chances are we've been rejected at those points. There are resistant points all along this channel. So will this prove to be a resistant point, or will this be a point where we break out? Only time will tell, and we'll cover this in the next few videos. Okay, on to our wisdom bites for today. And the question is, are you going to be hiding behind the sofa, or are you going to have a smug smile on your face? Or will you be too frightened to watch this section? What I will tell you is that this will totally transform your thinking. After all, we're all here to transform our lives with Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space, and we all want to do better. So the chances are, in my opinion, that the majority of people watching this channel are people who are on the right side of success. And we'll start off with number one: the poor watch TV while the rich read books. The question you have to ask yourself is, how many hours of TV do you watch? You know the types of people I mean, people who are watching TV like the soap operas and the documentaries and watching a lot of the news on a 24-hour basis. They're wasting their time doing things which are unproductive to them. And then they spend the time gossiping about what they saw on the TV with other people who also watch TV. The rich, on the other hand, read books. The question is, when was the last time you read a book? It's often said that the rich tend to read one book per week. So that's 52 books a year. Don't you think they would have learned something from those books in that 1 year? It's quite clear that this is a major difference between the rich and the poor. On to number two, and the poor people get paid based on time, while the rich get paid based on results. And here what we're talking about is that people are exchanging their time, their effort, their energy for a salary, for an income, whereas the rich get paid based on results. So what we're talking about here is that, let's say you can be the best server in McDonald's, but what value do you bring to McDonald's total business? Hence, you get paid accordingly, whereas the rich are paid based on results. They're based on the value that they add to the business. For instance, a CEO is going to get paid millions of dollars because they make decisions which will add millions of dollars to the bottom line for their companies. They spend the same time as the server in McDonald's, but they get paid a lot more because it's all about value and results. The third one is my favorite, actually, and you'll recognize these people, because the poor people blame others for their misfortunes, while the rich take responsibility for their failures. You will know who these people are in this section here, because these are the people who are always saying that it's someone else's fault for their lack of success in life. It's either the government, it's my boss, or it's my job, or it's my friends, my colleagues, etc., etc. Even the weather. By blaming others, what you do is you lose your power to change, because to you, it's others who have to change. And guess what? The others will never change. So therefore, you will continue to keep blaming them forever and ever. However, the rich taking responsibility for their failures, instead of blaming others, they learn from their misfortunes and their failures. And when you take responsibility, you gain power to change. The fourth one says that the poor people focus on savings, while the rich focus on investing. Now, this is an easy one because I think the majority of people watching this video will be on this side of the fence on this one, definitely, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. We're all investing in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space to become successful and rich from a financial point of view. We're not saying that you shouldn't save money. The problem with focusing on savings in a big way is that when you save a few dollars, it's only still a few dollars. It's not going to make you rich. Therefore, you don't have a saving problem. You have an income problem, which means that we have to focus on creating income which becomes unlimited for us. Whereas the rich people, they focus on the investing side, always looking for opportunities to make their fortune. Please remember, you become what you think about most of the time. And if you think about making a fortune most of the time, then guess what? You will increase your probability of doing exactly that. The fifth one is that the poor people think they know it all, whereas the rich people continuously wanting to learn. What you'll find with this number 5 is that people are very opinionated about politics, about sport, about society, about the government. They're always sharing their view and how the world can become better by the opinions that they hold. Whereas the rich stay humble, always willing to learn and being open to different ideas and opportunities. They remain in neutral mode, always willing to find the next bit of information that will help them to progress more forward. Asking questions and developing listening skills and other qualities, reading books. There is a saying that your wealth will only grow as fast as you do as a person. The 6th one says that the poor believe that money is the root of all evil, whereas the rich, they believe that poverty is the root of all evil. You see, if you look around you, you'll realize that it is the poorest neighborhoods that have the highest crimes, the drugs problems, etc., etc. It's when people are in survival mode with a lack of money that creates a lot of the problems. While the rich believe that it's the lack of money that is the biggest problem that triggers off the other problems in the world. Money itself is neutral, i.e. it's just a tool to be used for the good or bad, just like a knife. You can cut up fruit with it or you can murder somebody with it. So it's how you use it. The final one is number 7. The poor have a lottery mentality, whilst the rich have an action mentality. You see, the poor people believe that the only way to get rich is to buy the lottery ticket, even though they know the chances of winning is virtually zero. In the UK, the chances of having a winning ticket is 1 in 14 million. But they still buy the dream. They still buy the fantasy. Whereas the rich people have an action mentality. They believe if it's to be, it's up to me. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to be the one who's going to make myself successful. I'm not going to rely on a third party or some lottery ticket. And there you have it. So which category are you in? Maybe you're a mix of one or the other. Maybe there are some that you need to work on this side to put them on this side of the fence. And if you're behind the sofa looking at this, please remember, there's nothing you can do about the past except learn from it, but you can do something about it in the future. So you can take these points and change yourself to be on the right side of success. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you once again for watching. Very much appreciated. And if you found value in the video, then please do remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. And if you want to leave any comments, questions or suggestions, then please leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.